So what you're saying is that, as far as we can tell, the matriarchy was the oldest leading power that we've managed to date back.
Exactly. Society started with women.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Okay, so they were the leaders of the community before the time of the patriarchal time. So it's very difficult to put, a specific day when it started, because it was not like one period ended and the other started. It was more like fading out.
Right.
Okay, but the matriarchal society was the leading society. And this is where the research started getting interesting, because this is how I discover a very early story of humanity, the story of women, the connection to women and the moon, the priestess of the moon.
How early are we talking?
How early? So it's a great question, because if we are looking at the archaeological finds, so there are some 2 sites in Turkey, in Göbekli, so we can find some of the, I would say, the reminiscence of these periods around 9,000 BC. Another site next to it, 12,000 BC. But when you go into the folklore and the stories, it seems like it was there forever, okay, in the beginning of humanity. So it's very difficult to say a specific date. But it's definitely much beyond the time that we think empire started, okay,
Right.
like the ancient Egyptian and Sumerian. So diving into the world of the moon spirituality, the moon worship, it's the ancient knowledge, the ancient wisdom of humanity that was connected to women, connected to moon. And we are talking about women that were leading not only their families, their tribes, their community, but they saw themselves also as leading nature, as leading the planet. It was very important for them to make sure that there is enough food for all creatures in the planet. We are talking about animals, the plants, making sure that there is synchronicity, even with the time and weather and everything. So for them, the role of a woman, not only for the priestess, but the role of a woman in this world, is to make sure that the world exists, is to make sure that all living in this world, okay, will be able to thrive, to live healthy, and they saw themselves responsible for life if they are carrying life inside of them. So with this role, there is also a huge responsibility.
Right.
What I loved about this research about the moon is when I discovered that there was a time in humanity that all humanity was united under the laws of the moon. They didn't call it even a god. The notion of a god, the personification of a god that looks a little bit like a man but with a lot of power, okay, not even that. It's a way of living. And thousands of years, this humanity, this planet, okay, existed with no wars. I know it's unbelievable to think about it. And the matriarchal society was not about power. Okay, we are talking about a system we call today the circle, right? The women's circle. But this is how the leadership was. Okay, was a consensus. I mean, the priestess or the main priestess of the moon, if you want, of the tribe, didn't have a better house or a bigger house than the other. She had just more responsibility. That's it. So this equality, making sure that we are all together, this is beautiful. I want also to add, when I said that we have a role, women are different than men in so many aspects, but in the moon aspect, we have an ability to synchronize with other women. In ancient times, we used to get our period in full moon. Some of us got the period in full moon, and some of us conceived in full moon. So the one that got their period, it was very interesting. You know what they did? They were going to places to find the soil that was not fertile enough. And they would bring down all their blood into the soil directly. And if you want, like hocus pocus, it could definitely bring a fertile soil. Okay, so the role that they saw themselves, not only that I have my menstrual period, but I can also bring life with that. And one of the sad stories that happened in the patriarchal times, that when men wanted to take over, this leadership of women, some of them started to say, you know what, okay, so we don't have our menstrual period, but we can kill, okay? We can slaughter animal, okay? We can get this blood. And it's true, you can get the blood also from an animal, and it will also fertile the soil.
Okay.
But what about living? This is not the role. We
Right.
came to this planet to give life,
Right.
okay, to give love. I mean, this is not the role. We are not here to kill.
Right.
So in the ancient time, women used to meet, in the weekend, if you want, the Saturdays were for women. And they were supposed to meet in circle because they were supposed to synchronize their menstrual period.
It happens with best friends too.
Exactly.
You say, oh my God, we're spending so much time together. All of a sudden the periods sync up.
Exactly. By the way, science will tell you it's nonsense. I remember I had a doctor, he said, Galit, there is no proof for that. I said, no proof for that. I have 3 women at home. We are all synchronized with our menstrual period all the time. Whenever one is leaving, it gives us upside down. We know.
Right.
You know why? Because when we are synchronized and where our womb is synchronized with all women of the world, we can bring mercy.
Wow.
In Hebrew, the word for womb is rechem. It's the same word for mercy. They used to have ceremonies when they were connecting all their wombs together with a certain meditation, and they will ask mercy and strength for the one that was sick and for the one that was sad, and this is the power. So if you really want to change something in this craziness that we are facing now, I would even suggest that women from all over the world will start synchronizing every Saturday at a certain time, connecting even in our imagination to women of the world and ask mercy to stop this nonsense.
Right.
The ancient will tell you, you have the power. This is a different power. It's the moon power.
Amazing.
So I think if we are looking at it metaphorically, it's time for the moon to rise with all those beautiful values. And it's time also for women to start taking their roles, bringing their voice out, even saying, stop killing. We didn't bring kids for that. Okay, this is a very important one. And I would also ask for women to wake up. I mean, the ancient role that we had was to preserve and bring life to this planet. And we forgot this role. The patriarchal brought a lot of power, a lot of anger, I will decide for everyone. And all this structure is not working anymore.
Right.
When everything will collapse, humanity have the chance to build something different.
Fresh.
Not from the same point, different.
Right.
And this is where we have hope. We started with matriarchal. We went to patriarchal. Maybe it's time for both.
Amen.
Absolutely. Yes. Amen to that.
Yeah.